The narratives that you are about to see are fictionalized scenarios. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, locales, and incidents are either the products of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Use Case 4 demonstrates several other capabilities. 1. Remote ID capabilities. 2. An approved public safety query for remote ID. And 3. A general public request for network remote ID. By 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there are additional drones in the skies around Blacksburg. In nearby Christiansburg, Virginia, Wing Part 135 operations are delivering essential medications and supplies to vulnerable members of the population who are disproportionately affected by the storm. The general community and public safety officials alike observe these newcomers and want to understand the nature and cause for the increased drone sightings. The recreational hobbyists Bill and Anna spot the Wing delivery drones while streaming video for Instagram Live, and curiosity drives them to check their remote ID interface to request identification. The remote ID interface provides Bill and Anna with limited, publicly available information that reassures them that the flight is authorized. Meanwhile, leaders at the Radford Army Ammunition Plant are increasingly concerned about monitoring and protecting against unauthorized UAS operations. The commanding officer at Radford spots the nearby TV station drone and submits a public safety request for identification using the ANRA Broadcast Remote ID, which allows her to confirm its legitimacy. Once the commanding officer at Radford receives the relevant information identifying the drones, she breathes a sigh of relief and takes her unit off elevated alert.
Use Case 4 is going to demonstrate the use of applications, phone apps, or other technology to allow the general public to understand what the drones that they see in their environment, whether or not they're allowed to be there to assure them that it's not a nefarious activity that they need to be concerned about.
As part of this use case, we're taking a look at validating the ASTM international standards that have been put forth for remote ID services. In looking at the standards and validating the standards, there is both the broadcast perspective. This is the broadcast that is coming off the drone itself with a set of identifying information for the drone, as well as a network capability that's looking at information sharing of these same broadcast messages amongst other USS in a ecosystem that has information being shared with both USS and, if needed, can be shared to the FAA.
We'll be testing several of those approaches that the standards bodies and others work to develop to understand how effective these technologies are with regards to the range of the broadcast and the effectiveness of the network solution and their ability to provide the information that the public, and in the case of the public safety folks that can receive enhanced information, whether or not that information is effective in solving their needs to identify UAS operating in the vicinity of themselves.
A very clear analogy between remote ID and something that already occurs today is that of license plates. License plates provide traceability to an automobile and the user of that automobile for those authorized to get that information. Remote ID is essentially the same type of capability, however, it is in a more digitized manner. This occurs with safe and secure data exchange between the drone itself to the USS or the drone itself to a third-party application. This is one of the cornerstones of enabling remote ID and providing traceability to those conducting a particular type of operation.
So in contrast to the information that the general public has access to, the public safety community, appropriately approved individuals would indeed have access to connect the license plate on the drone to the drone owner or the drone operator. And as you might imagine, that's a key piece for law enforcement and public safety to be able to have at their disposal to do their jobs for enforcing laws and ensuring that the operators of these drones are indeed following the rules.
the public is able to contact their local public safety entities in order to provide them with the remote ID number based off of the broadcast that they receive. Potential apps from our USS partners that are being created can enable that type of reporting process to a local public safety entity. And for our public safety partners, especially those with elevated privileges that are attained via the FAA, they are able to request further information from the FAA in order to get a holistic set of pictures of the operator and all their associated information that is held within the FAA. The remote identification capability will allow us to safely integrate UAS into our airspace. It will also address the public safety and security concerns for general public as well as government stakeholders regarding the integration of these drones into our airspace. This will look to, in the future, enable operational capabilities such as the beyond visual line of sight operations.